You're listening to the Ontos Podcast, where we explore the natures of stories and the pursuit of being in truth. I'm Maq.
And I'm Vaud.
And our sentience depends on you. Now, cue the intro music.
Sometimes I wonder if I'm going mad. Perhaps it is due to the presence of knowing that I must somehow bear the burden of the entire world. Perhaps it is caused by the death I have seen, the friends I have lost, the friends I have been forced to kill. Either way, I sometimes see shadows following me, dark creatures that I don't understand, not wish to understand. Are they, perhaps, some figment of my overtaxed mind? Ooh, is that a little bit of the Lord Ruler that I'm seeing now? Because, we're going to talk a little bit about this epigraph before I get into the summary here. He's, again, if we assume this is a Lord Ruler, he's admitting at this point that he's seen a lot of his friends die, and he's killed some of them. And that feels a little bit more like the Lord Ruler we've been hearing about.
Yeah, a little craziness. So a good way to lead into chapter 13.
And he even asked the question, is this Lord Ruler that's ruling now, is this a crazed version? Is this a madman who came out the other end? Well, we'll see what these epigraphs lead to in the future. But chapter 13.
13. Lucky
All
13.
Right. Yeah, very lucky. Good chapter. Well, we open up with Sazed still nervously drilling Vin. I need you to tell me everything. What did he say to you? What did y'all talk about? And Vin, still up to this point, is like, I don't know why Sazed's so mad. This guy doesn't seem. Why you mad? This guy doesn't seem.
Well, why are you mad though?
This guy does not seem like he's that impressive. He's the heir of the most powerful house right now, but he doesn't seem impressive as a person. Yet, Vin talks about how she was herself talking to him. That was, she's like, oh, I've started to notice that I can be me around the crew every once in a while. But this guy she met in like 30 seconds disarmed her, and she was Vin from the beginning of their conversation. If that's true, I can see why Sazed's a little nervous. Yeah, you don't, she's got a role to play here. But yeah, they arrive back. Sazed thinks this is such a big enough deal that he presses the meet button, on Among Us, and everyone comes in, and he's just like, there's something sus happening right now, okay?
Pink is sus.
Pink is venture is sus. But yeah, no, he points out to everyone, she got Ellen Venture's attention, and Lord Renew reacts calmly, yet you can see sternly. This is bad. You're supposed to make connections, but not good enough ones to make a scandal. This is a scandal in the making. You are way too low for this person. This is not good. Kelser's the only one who's laughing. He's like, oh, Vin, you got to turn off your charming self. Come on. What are you doing?
Show him one of those patented glares.
Yeah.
Yes, just like that.
That one, yeah. That one you're looking at me, yeah. But yeah, so they all agree, though. All three of them. Sazed, Lord Renew, and Kelser, all three agree. Listen, Ellen has a reputation for being the black sheep, like you mentioned the episode before. He's just doing this to get a rise out of everyone in the court. He's just using you. And Vin has that moment where she goes, I was there. It doesn't seem like it, but okay. Okay. Well, Kelser's like, well, I'm going to head out now. I got to go. I got to do stuff. And Vin's like, where are you going? He goes, stuff. And leaves.
Wouldn't you like to know?
And yeah, Vin points out now. She goes, woo, Kelser's sus. Where's he going? I didn't see him dump the trash out. Whatever. I don't know. I never played Among Us. I just know the memes.
I don't know if they're relevant anymore.
In the control room? I don't know. Anyway, he's going somewhere, and he normally tells us what houses he's going to hit if he's going out to hit houses. he just ignored my question. He didn't answer where he was going. He just left. And so she's like, I'm going to bed. And Sazed gives her the parent eyes. Like, yeah, you're going to bed. But lets her go. She goes to her room and just immediately puts on the mist cloak, jumps out, and follows Kelsier. We've seen Vin try to do this before. She likes to keep tabs on everyone. And she follows Kelsier, and he goes off into the forest, though. He doesn't, like, when he leaves the manor, he goes off into the forest. And Vin finds out that there's, like, this allomantic highway built. Like, there's just this metal dinged into the ground, and Kelsier's using it like a highway just to fly towards, well, she doesn't know initially. All she knows is she's going to follow him. And let's talk about this. It's cool. The allomantic highway is cool.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, just metal dinged into the ground, and you just jump from section to section. And so she realizes she's going fast. She goes, I would beat anyone on horseback here. So she follows, loses Kelsier for a bit, but makes it to the city and realizes she made it to the city from the other town in like 10 minutes, maybe? So really quick. It explains now. She goes, I was curious because Kelsier would get in between these places like really fast, and I had no clue what he was doing. But this makes sense. She follows Kelsier into Luthadel and realizes that Kelsier is watching over Keep Venture. He's just keeping an eye out and looking, and she's trying to stay hidden. She goes, is he here to assassinate Ellen Venture?
Oh boy.
And we in her mind, she gets scared. Ooh, something's forming there. That was pretty quick because up to this point, she hasn't cared. She's watched her entire crew get slaughtered. Nothing. Cold-hearted Vin. The mention that Ellen's gonna get killed?
Oh boy.
Yep. But Kelsier doesn't do anything. He leaves. It seems he was just watching. And she goes to follow him. And she sees his the steel line fling out. And she goes, whoa, he's going super fast. Then she feels a hand on her shoulder. Kelsier's behind her. A good thief can steal tricks the same way he can steal boxings. Mm-hmm. He uses her own trick against her and throws the coin pouch out into the night. And she thinks it's him, and he sneaks behind her and gets a hold of her. And chastises her, like, what the heck are you doing? You shouldn't be here, you know? Haven't we talked about trust? And then, you know, sassy kid energy.
He goes, no you.
Yeah, no you. You didn't tell me where you were going. How's that? And he's like, I don't want you to worry. He goes, you do crazy stuff all the time. What do you mean? And he's like, no, but this is crazy. And, oh boy, yeah, it's a crazy idea. He's going to head off to Creedic Shaw, to the Lord Ruler's palace. And Vin's like, oh, are you going to go mess with the Lord Ruler? And he's like, oh God, I hope not. I hope he's not there. I'm not nearly ready for that. No, I'm just going to go pay a visit. And she begs him to take her with him. And he fights on it, but she's pretty persistent. And he realizes, I'm going to tell her to leave, and then she's going to still follow me anyway. If I'm going and I'm not going to change my plans, I might as well take her, because she's going to come anyway. Yeah, at least I'm going to know she's here. And so he teaches her about Atium. He reveals Atium to her. He gives it to her, and we get to see
the power of Atium.
What made Kelsier invincible? What let him do? What let him attack Lord Trusting and essentially slaughter an entire plantation of guards with ease? Atium lets you see into the future. Okay, Brandon.
So there you go. I mean, that makes that would make you pretty strong.
Yeah. In fact, Kelsier mentions. So let's explain really fast. What Vin sees, right, is like a shadow that extends off of Kelsier and leads back to his real like body, and the shadow does what he's gonna do before he does it.
I think it also enhances her senses a bit, so she's able to like anticipate it.
Yeah, it lets her process that information. It's not like a normal person looking at multiple images happening at once. Her brain can fully process the information she's being given. So essentially, you just know what's going to happen. And yeah, Kelsier reveals the only way to fight a Mistborn with Atium is if you're burning Atium yourself, because we get some complex thing where, suddenly a bunch, like almost an infinite amount of shadows shoot out from this person, and it's because they know what you're going to do, so their shadow changes, and so your shadow changes because you know what they're going to do, and it just goes into infinity. Just infinite amount of possibilities at that point because you're reacting off of what they're doing.
The shadow equivalent of pointing two mirrors to each other.
Exactly. And so this is pretty huge. Being able to know exactly what your opponent's going to do. I'm starting to believe Kelsier here. That makes you invincible.
So yeah, we got a lot of big things that come up here. I mean, ATM's like the major drop here because we've been hearing about how valuable ATM is, and he actually says that too. He's like,
yeah, and really fast. That is the end of this chapter. I didn't mention it, but yeah, that's where we're left with. We're left with he's going to retrieve his coin pouch, and they're going to Creedic Shaw, and he gives her some actual ATM, and
they go. So, I mean, we get to know why, he says ATM is super duper valuable, mainly because there's what it can do for Allomancy.
Do you remember what you said last chapter or last episode? You mentioned how the money she had on her and the things she could survive for decades off of. He gave her a bead of ATM that burned out in 10 seconds, maybe? And he said, that's worth like double what you have on you right now, which means one bead of this thing, 2 beads, and a person could live for the rest of their life.
And you burn through it so fast, but I mean, it gives you basically the ability to see every move that someone else is going to make, and that clearly is going to be a huge advantage for any Mistborn. And it explains like why it's so valuable, but also when you use it, it's gone. So it by using it, you deplete the supply. It becomes even more valuable. And so we can see like how Kelsier, why he needed it to beat so many people, because that way he can see projectiles coming his way. He could see strikes before they happened, and he could be able to get out of the way so much faster.
So I have a question for you, and I want to ask it. From our understanding, Kelsier is a fairly new Mistborn.
Mm-hmm.
So from what we've learned so far, does ATM explain why he's able to do what he was? Because originally, before we knew what ATM did, it just seemed like Kelsier was like this insanely like talented Mistborn. And I'm not trying to pull and say he isn't talented, but like, is ATM the reason he's able to do all these things?
I'm skeptical because it sounds like it's so valuable, and he mentions the only way to beat someone with ATM is with ATM.
And I guess we did see the chapter 5. He fought, and we didn't see him use ATM once in that fight, which was a very impressive fight.
Right, and so if he was going to use it, why didn't he use it then? So it sounds like he's holding on to it for very special occasions, which, breaking into the person who's basically God, breaking into his place, that's probably a good time to be able to bust this out. So no, I think that's just him, and I think this just makes him on a different level.
Is this also why the Lord Ruler people see him as essentially immortal?
It could be.
If he controls the entire ATM flow, how could anyone beat him in a fight if he had ATM?
There's all sorts. I mean, he definitely like controls the ATM flow. He probably, 9/10 of the ATM is going somewhere. He most likely has it or knows where it is. So, I mean, it makes perfect sense that this would give you essentially ultimate power. And if someone else was able to hold on to it, it would be able to give you a whole bunch of stuff. But Kelsier also does mention the only use for ATM is in Allomancy, or at least that's the only one that everyone has because it's so rare.
Yeah, it would be useless if Allomancers weren't burning it.
Yeah, so it kind of like pulls into this whole idea of what we're going to be doing. As far as breaking into the Lord Ruler's big spot, he's going to need something, an extra backup. So it makes sense that he would give some to Vin, have some himself, and next chapter, we're going to break into the Lord Ruler's space. Hey guys, it's Mac. Thanks for listening to the Altos podcast. You'll start seeing regularly scheduled episodes starting November 14, 2022. If you'd like to follow us, please consider subscribing. We're a small project, so please support us with likes and comments because that's what the algorithms crave. If you're listening to the YouTube channel, please hit the notification bell. And if you really want to give us a boost, consider supporting us on Patreon so we can give Vaud a better mic.